Welcome back to the channel. We got another busy week in the shop. We have so much stuff going on. I appreciate all the customers coming by and dropping off their cars and letting us work on them. It's truly a blessing to be able to do what I love to do in life. So if you wake up every day and you go to your job and you hate it, I'm so sorry, because I love what I do. This is my jam. So got an update on Barbara's truck. We're waiting on some of the parts. They said about 2 more weeks. So we're going to be patient, wait a couple more weeks, and hopefully we can get her car going and knocked out. Our good friend Wayne's bringing his Trans Am by. He needed an anti-roll bar put on. I say anti-roll bar. Torque arm, a new torque arm bar put on. So he has the parts, so we're going to do that. We got some progress going on Mike's Fox body and Ethan's car. The turbo kit's going along. We got another Camaro dropped off for a turbo kit. And we're going to make some progress on the Maverick. We're going to put it on the chassis table and start working on it. So let's get to it. You're watching the Vasco Speed and Performance YouTube channel. So we got the tube thrown in and all dunked out on Mike's car. He went ahead and brought up this Speedway Motors sells this. It's actually kind of a cool deal. It's a Mockup Coyote. You can get it with just the block, or you can get it with the block and the heads, or you can get just the heads. Basically, what you can do is use this for mock-up, putting your intake on it, valve covers, all sorts of stuff. The only complaint I'll have about this is it came with like a whole bunch of nuts and bolts, but it came with way more nuts than it did bolts. So that's kind of silly, but other than that, I think they just probably forgot to send them. Nevertheless, everything should bolt on. If it was me, I would probably drill these out and put like nutserts in them so that you could bolt things on. It would be pretty cool to have, like, you know, your front cover and everything bolted on there and pretty much have a whole mock-up motor. And dude, this thing is so nice to put in. It's really, really lightweight. I had a oil pan laying around, so we went ahead and threw an oil pan on it to make sure that clears. But yeah, everything on it seems to work really, really good. So if you're needing one, they're I think they're around $450 for the heads and the block, but a pretty reasonable option if you don't want to have to lug around a heavy engine and you want to be able to bolt parts onto it. So pretty cool idea. Okay, now back on Mike's car. So this is Matthew. So we got the tube front end knocked out yesterday. Matthew did a great job on that. So today we are going to start working on removing the rear end. That's going to be a little bit of a task as it is. Also, it has a anti-roll bar in here, and it's just been all, well, I don't know how you'd say that, but welded, I guess. It's been welded in, so it had the option, it looks like, to be bolted in, but they decided to weld it in. So we're going to have to cut it out. Oh, it's an MMR one. Hell yeah. So the only way to get it out really is you could sit there and try to cut this, but you're going to spend forever trying to do that. So we're just going to cut this in the middle and then chuck it in the trash. Then we're going to cut those brackets off and get that out. And then we got to start working on upper torque boxes, lower torque boxes. And in order to get the lower torque boxes out, it's got these subframe connectors on here that we got to get off. And this one is made by Kenny Brown Performance Parts. I don't know where Kenny Brown's located at, but gosh, Indianapolis, USA. So yeah, it's probably some historic relics on there that somebody wants. Well, if you want them, you can come find them in our dumpster. Yeah, so we're gonna get working on that. So we're gonna set up the time lapse and start cutting this thing apart. we really need to get the Maverick on the chassis table. So we went ahead and took the Mustang off, and we are going to put the chassis table underneath the Maverick. Okay, well there it is. The Maverick is on the chassis table, so that's pretty cool. It was a little bit of a challenge getting it on there because it's just awkward lifting a whole car up, but we got it done. It would have been a lot easier if it was a roller. Then we could have just put it on the lift and then, you know, rolled the chassis table underneath it and done it that way. But it is what it is. We made it work. So we ended up getting these outriggers made. And what I did was I ended up making this panel here on the plasma table that slides on this so that you can slide it. And then I took the square tubing, put it in the plasma table and cut a slot into it. If I had a mill, I would have used it, but use what you got. And then these are for more race chassis, and so pretty cool product. They just clamp onto the pinch weld and hold it there, and then the car is fully suspended, and if you need to do anything to it, it's just out in the open. It's really, really nice. So what we're actually gonna do next, now that the car is on the jig, I wanted the jig back far enough so that we can place the rear end. So I'll probably end up making a device on this to hold the rear end to the exact spot that we want. Then we can work on, you know, mounting it, ladder bars, all that kind of stuff, get it at the ride height. You can put your shocks, make it a lot easier there. And then when it comes to up here, we need to take the bumper, the grill, all this stuff off. If you look at it, the bumper's bent. There's some stuff that's probably not square on this anyways. The lower core support has been modified also, so it's got some stuff done. So what we're gonna do is take all this stuff off the front of it and then mount something to the core support to keep it where it's at. And then we can cut the frame rails out and all that should stay the same. And then once we get the frame rails cut out and all that cleaned up, we have the new frame rails over here. So we can start installing those, and hopefully by the time we get to the point where that's ready, we will have the tube front end, well, I say tube front end, the K-member from AJE. So AJE actually sells a K-member for these cars that bolts in and pretty much makes it like a Fox body. So you end up using spindles and, you know, Fox body brakes and stuff like that. I believe the owner of the car ended up going with the spindles that utilize factory Maverick stuff because he wanted to keep it all the same. But other than that, it's pretty much the same thing. You should be able to use Fox body struts, things like that. And then up here, since we no longer have shock towers, what we are going to be doing is from the cage coming through here, we're going to put a strut mount. But we're going to have to make a bar go across here, and it'll actually hold the spindles. And then we can put our struts at the correct angle and we'll know where to put the strut cups. So we got a lot of work ahead of us on this, but it'll be nice to see some progress on it because it seems like every time we turn a corner on it, we find something else that we got to change or do differently. So yeah, so we're going to work on getting the front end on it and then go from there, and we'll document that along the way. Okay, today we are working on the Maverick. Got it on the chassis jig the last time. We went ahead and got the rear end centered in there. We think that's about where that needs to go. We are going to work on cutting the front end off of it. I just took the whole front radiator grill area stuff off. There was a bunch of brackets on here I took off. I made this deal here to help support the front end to keep it where it's at, so everything should line back up hopefully where it was. Went ahead and put a little clamp on here and I did some tack welds onto this. And then I made this bar here come up and it's just tacked to the bottom of this. So now I'm going to cut this section out and hopefully none of it moves. So so we've got the frame cut out on that side, not this side yet. We're trying to get one side squared up as best as possible. So that's rough cut out. That one's cut out, pretty cleaned up. So I'm gonna continue to clean the most of this out and get it out. And then I measured from here to here, and that distance is shorter than the frame rail that we have, because the frame rails we have are actually for a Mustang. So not a huge deal. We're gonna have to shorten them probably, but it's kind of where we're at. So I'm gonna get back to cutting. Okay, so we have the rear end over here for the Maverick, and these are the old brackets, the ladder bar brackets, and we're just gonna go in here and cut all these tacks, get both of these brackets off, clean the tubes up, and then we're gonna temporarily tack, essentially the same as this, our new brackets onto the rear end and kind of go from there. So let's get after it. Okay, we got the old brackets off, we got the new brackets in. I went ahead and made these little spacers here. This is gonna help keep everything spaced. So we've got 0.75 or 3/4 inch spacer, and then we got a slight shim in there to help for that. Everything's lining up pretty good. We got the rear end pinion surface flat. I think if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and put some pinion into it, but we're gonna leave it flat since we're gonna have so much adjustment here, plus the ladder bars are gonna have adjustment. So we got a spacer in here. There's also a shim in there. I went ahead and put a shim in this for these to also help give extra room for that. I had to take these off, and even though we rolled the doublers on there and they lined up really good, we went ahead and drilled the holes through there to make sure the bolts would go through nice and good. So that's good there. That side seems to be all right. If we have to, we can always drill those in, but we're gonna go ahead and get this thing tacked together since it's all square and everything looks the way we want it. We went ahead and added this extra tube down here. Not that it's necessary, but it's got holes and it helps align everything. So we're probably gonna go ahead and put it in there. It's not gonna be in the way of anything, I don't think. So we'll do that. I went ahead and put an 1.5 inch tube here. There were some holes there. Anything you can do to help support it, that'll be good. And then I went ahead and we have these, which are the rear end brace, which are gonna go on here. And so we'll end up putting those on eventually also. But for now, we're just gonna kind of tack this thing together and kind of get it looking the way we want. Well, I didn't get any video of this. It's my fault. I had Matthew working on most of this yesterday, but then I worked on it a little bit today. But this is Wayne's car. We've been working on Wayne's car for a while now. If you don't know Wayne, Wayne is a heck of a drag racer. I give him crap all the time, but the kid can cut a light, and he's definitely good at driving. But he's had this car for a long time. We used to work at the dealership together, and it's a naturally aspirated car. I don't know how many cubic inches it is, but it's got a 4LS60E in it. It's the only 4LS60E that I know that actually has lived, especially with somebody racing it like Wayne does. But beautiful car. It's a Trans Am. It's not a factory color. He bought it from a guy in Texas, and he has fixed a lot on this car. We actually made a custom belly pan for a while back, so pretty cool. But let me show you what we did to it this time. So one of the issues Wayne was having with his car was, part of it is this exhaust is difficult because it's true dual, which is really, really cool, but it can be a pain to get it up in there. But we kept finding issues with his drive shaft safety loop, and part of it was my fault. So it mounted from here to here, and it wouldn't clear the exhaust. So I flipped the bracket upside down. By flipping it, I didn't realize that it actually changed the angle of it. So the drive shaft safety loop actually hit the drive shaft a couple spots. So brought it back, I redid it. And after I redid it, it didn't still seem right. So I told him, I said, honestly, your torque arm is still mounted up here to your transmission. I don't like that because it can pull on it. It could break this if you really launch hard enough, and he's launching pretty good with this car. So this is his old torque arm over here. It's a lot longer. So it used to mount clear up here. So I talked him into getting a new one. So this is the new one. It's made by BMR. We were actually able to reuse this bracket and, this bracket. This is part of the rear end. This bracket right here is the same one. So we were able to reuse that. So we just put a new torque arm on from here, and then it mounts to here. One thing I really like about these shorter torque arms is if you get a bar that goes across like this. Does it suck hanging down? Yes, but you need more room for the exhaust to get through here. Most of the time you're having it like 3-inch, 3.5-inch, sometimes even 4-inch exhaust. This is dual exhaust. That makes it even more difficult. The factory stuff usually mounts to here if you get a shorter one, and this crushes in. My own personal car did that. So I ended up doing this same style bar on my car, mounting it to here. It's part of the BMR kit, and it comes with these plates you can put on the end. Another thing about it is we needed a drive shaft safety loop since the old one we took off. So we ended up mounting it to this bar. But I took some time today to get the exhaust back on it. It's seen better days, but it all ended up going on and working. Right now the drive shaft hits it, but once it goes up, when it's at right height, it should be clear. And then it goes true dual up over the axle and then out the back. So also we put a TRZ anti-roll bar on this a while back, and TRZ is one of the only companies that makes ones that's actually very nice, that mounts up here and goes off of this bar that comes up through here. The only downfall to that bar is it goes straight. It would be nice if it came down a little bit further to get a little bit more room for the exhaust, but it is what it is. So we ended up making these spacers to space this anti-roll bar down on both sides, but ended up getting it to work. So he should be good to go. I gave him a list of things that I would recommend doing on the car, so he's probably going to end up doing those down the road. But yeah, if you're ever out at Flying H drag strip, make sure you look for this guy because he's always out there winning races. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. So I appreciate everybody coming by the channel. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.